G'day, Greg from Homeisms. I thought we'd have a talk today about our Temprecord data loggers. Occasionally, things that seem too good to be true actually are, and this is one of those cases. If you're involved in food production or pharmacological production, you're almost certainly going to need IANS calibration on your temperature measurement gear. And these loggers represent fantastic value because they come with an IANS certificate included within the price. Now the bit about that makes it almost too good to be true is that, here's an example of the certificate for example. You can see the IANS logo top of screen. Is that these loggers are so well priced that you can actually buy a complete logger for less than the price of a calibration. And that makes them exceptional value. There's a second benefit of doing it this way. Because the manufacturer, Temprecord, is a IANS accredited laboratory, the same as Homeisms, they are able to write any corrections that are required into the EEPROM chip of the logger. So you can get very, very good accuracy, rather more again than the price might reflect. So there is a range of these loggers that we sell from Temprecord, primarily because Homeisms are involved a lot with food and with pharmaceuticals. We tend to sell these IANS accredited loggers the most commonly. There are two styles. We have the display models, or G4. There's an example here. This is just a sample one. And what we call the G3, which has no display. So it just depends on what you need, horses for courses. But both of these include an IANS calibration within the price of the unit. For example, if we took a unit like this one, which we call the Multitrip, if we bought this model without an external probe, so this would simply throw in with your product. If you imagine there's no lead coming out there like this one, the price of this unit is less than the price of a calibration. I'll say that again. The price of this unit is less than the price of having it calibrated. So that's exceptional value. They are available with or without leads at 1 meter long cables or 3 meter long cables and in various temperature ranges. In most cases, the bodies are rated at IP67. And if you can imagine, the units that have no external probe are all plastic welded. They are nicely sealed. I will run through the range separately in a moment. To read from the loggers, one simply plugs into your computer by USB a reading saddle or shuttle like this, and one inserts the logger in. There's no electrical connection. Again, because it's sealed, there are inductive coils that communicate with the base. So once you've installed Temprecord 6.3 software, we'll have a nice icon like this on your desktop, and we simply double click that and open it. I'm going to show you some simple modes on the software. It's quite powerful and there's quite a lot more you can do with it, but I'll show you the very, very basics of how to read a logger. Right now I have placed the logger with some samples on it into the reader, which is plugged into my USB. And what I tend to do is start by querying the logger, which I do by hitting the space bar. It finds a logger, it looks at it, and it tells us the status that this logger has been stopped. If I had not stopped it, I would simply go up to the menu again. Now there are many ways. With Windows, you know that we have graphical icons like so, and we have written menus. Because I'm old and old school, I tend to use these. So I could go stop logger there, or I could simply go here and go stop logger, exactly the same. What I'm going to do now though is read the logger. And again, I could use the read option there, but I'm just going to go to read logger here. We see that it's reading the data and it's downloaded, and we see straight away we have a graph showing the temperature that I just captured a few moments ago. We see that flags have been set to show the lowest temperature, 21.92 at whatever time that was, today at 1:19, and the highest temperature was reached today at 1:57, and that was at 25.2 degrees. It's quite warm here today. So we can do a number of things with this data now. We can look at it just on screen as pure data. We can look at some statistics here, but normally we're going to export this and do something with it. So let's take the first example where we want to create an Excel spreadsheet of this data. If we go into Graph View and we select Excel, it asks us where we want to save it, and we'll call this LinkedIn sample to desktop. And we now have, we have the data available here. We have some statistical data at the top showing us the limits, the average temperature or the mean temperature, and any other settings we have, and then we have date and time stamps there such that you can do things with the data. Or you may prefer to produce a report. So for example, we could print to a PDF document. So we'll do that precisely. Save as a PDF, and again on the desktop, LinkedIn report PDF. And as soon as that's exported, we can open the PDF, which should be on the desktop. There it is, LinkedIn report. And again, we can see the statistical data, summary, and a graph. Now, as I've said, there is much more to it, but that's a good introduction to the logger.